anyone I could chase and keep up with enough was a great way for me to keep improving.
That's a professional skier, someone who probably every single one of us would have a lot of trouble chasing. But there's more to this. That chasing, that surrounding yourself with greater talent can be beneficial beyond the slopes. Some have said if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you.
Who are the MTNmeisters?
Committing to the goal and galvanizing you and your team behind that one single focus.
Being at peace with that fear and being okay with it.
You gain a real appreciation for your life and for what you have.
Learn about their extreme lives on rock, snow, and ice with your host, Ben Shank.
Hello, everyone. Before we get things started, just a quick note. If you haven't already signed up for Audible.com, you probably should. They're smart, and they know if you listen to podcasts, you probably listen to audiobooks. So they pay me every single time I get a person to sign up for their service. If you like MTNmeister, help support it. The link's right on our website, or go to audibletrial.com/meister. And thanks. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of MTNmeister. Hello, my name is Ben. You know me, the host. Today, we welcome Hadley Hammer. Hadley, hi.
Hi, Ben.
Congratulations on being named a MTNmeister. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So we've talked about this topic that I'm about to bring up before, and I'm curious what your perspective is on it. We've talked about how your name can have an impact on who you eventually become. Hadley, your last name is Hammer. Do you think Hammer has been a self-fulfilling last name given the way that you ski?
I think in one way it definitely has been. That started to ski a little bit more aggressively, so I guess it gets there. I would say that I'm a terrible carpenter, so
okay,
maybe
right.
I'm not fully living up to it. But
past couple of guests we've had on the show, let's see if you can guess what one of them or both of them do.
Okay.
One person is Howie Sanborn. What does that evoke?
Some sort of surfer, beach life person.
Military. Howie Sanborn. I don't know. It just sounds military-like to me.
I can see that.
All right, here's another one. Faith Dickey. Her name is Faith. What do you think she does?
Studies religion.
I like that answer. Very close. She is a professional slackliner.
Oh, nice.
And she sometimes she free solo slacklines without the harness.
Yeah. Wild.
So Faith, that makes sense, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And your brother's name is Max Hammer, which sets the bar even higher for him. Max Hammer.
Yeah. It's what's interesting is a sneaky bit of knowledge is his first name was actually Alexander growing up, but his best friend was also Alexander as well, and so they decided that can't happen. And so he took his middle name, which was Maximilian.
Interesting.
And so now he's been Maximilian or Max Hammer ever since.
Yeah, and that has been self-fulfilling too. He is also a professional skier. And I was going to say, like, how do you not do something radical when your name is Max Hammer? Yeah,
yeah, you kind of have to. But he's such a quiet guy. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah. So his expression of his name definitely comes through his skiing. I
was going to say that, like, there's no way, and this is like the first thing that came to my mind. So he has to do something radical. He's not going to be like a dentist or something like that. But then I realized my childhood dentist's name, wait for it, was Dr. Thornblade.
Oh, wow.
Can you believe that?
Wrong. He's doing the wrong job.
I know, but he's been very successful. I don't know how you could be a successful dentist with your last name as Thornblade.
Yeah, it sounds intimidating.
So anyway, you grew up with Max Hammer, a professional skier, and you are a member of the Freeride World Tour, so you obviously are a very good skier as well. Did you guys push each other during your childhood?
We did, and I actually have an older brother as well, so I was completely surrounded by boys, being boys growing up. So they did a lot of like, even just every day in our childhood was running around, and they were skiing off of our roof, which my parents didn't love, but or in the summer, you know, we'd climb trees and try to slingshot each other off of them. So it was definitely an aggressive, boyish childhood that I had. A bunch
of hammers. Do you remember a time like in your childhood, like specifically when you guys were just working off of each other, pushing each other to become a better skier?
I do, and what actually the memory that stands out the most, we weren't skiing, but we were on the Oregon coast, just taking a road trip with my mom, and we all wanted to learn how to skimboard. And what was interesting was Max. I don't believe that there's anything as a natural athlete, but the way that Max looks at things and things click for him very quickly, and I think he's so intuitive, and the things that he does, he just has so much thought going into it. And so he picked up the skimboard and right away was like riding into the ocean and like crushing on things and doing 360s. And then my older brother, it didn't come as naturally for him, but I don't think he came in till like my mom forced him to. Like it was super dark and she was worried. And so between that, like having Max's sort of ability to pick up things really fast because he's so smart about how he approaches things, and then having my older brother to look to who is so dedicated to that, will just like kind of grind it out till he feels happy. I think having the combination of both those things has been an awesome way for me to approach skiing, because I think I fall also more towards my brother where things don't come right away. And then being able to like ask Max a question about my skiing, and he kind of explains it in this totally new way. I force him to do drills with me every year and like free coaching. And so he sort of explains things in a wildly different way. And then I think of my older brother and like, okay, I'm just going to grind this out until it feels right.
That's excellent. I used this quote before, like you're the average of the 5 people with whom you spend the most time. That's a quote by this guy named Jim Rohn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, I really like that.
So you have 2 of the 5 as brothers, it seems like.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
That's useful. But you know, like we talk about on this show how valuable it is to step outside of your comfort zone. And I think that surrounding yourself with greater talent is actually kind of outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Freeride World Tour, I'd imagine that those people are maybe greater talent.
Yeah. I kind of assumed since the beginning that everyone's pretty much a better skier than I am. Wow. And so there's a lot of women in Jackson that are incredibly fast, just ripping, hard charging skiers. Mm-hmm. And so just chasing them around the mountain, sort of I found anyone I could chase and keep up with enough was a great way for me to keep improving. Yeah,
exactly. But you weren't always skiing. You went to basically the greatest school on the face of this earth, which is the University of New Hampshire.
Yep.
For the listeners, if you don't know, I am a UNH alum as well. Hadley and I did not attend UNH at the same time, though, unfortunately. But you graduated with a hospitality degree, right?
Yep, hospitality and economics, and then I minored in religious studies and English just to keep it interesting.
Yeah. I was an economics minor as well.
Nice.
And the UNH hospitality is a great program. If the listeners don't know, it's I believe it's very highly ranked. And after school, you pick up what seems to be a great job in the hotel business in Washington, D.C. Everything you could have possibly wanted. Life is good, right?
Yeah, life on paper looked really awesome.
But what wasn't on paper?
I think I just realized, I think it's really important that I left the town of Jackson, because I think you can definitely stay here and it's such a wonderful place to live, and it kind of ruins you for reality everywhere else. But it was great to go, to school back east, because it's wildly different, and I had no idea how wildly different it was. And then to live in a city, I think, gave me an appreciation of how much living in a mountain town syncs more with my personality and my sort of life goals. So living in DC was really interesting, and it was interesting to learn a lot about. I was working for the Four Seasons, and then I worked for a company that certifies people in wine and alcohol. And it was so fascinating, but just the like daily grind that you get yourself into, like wake up, have coffee, get on the subway or a bus, go to work, have a lunch break, go back to sitting all day, go to the gym, where like our gym was so popular you had to wait in line for a treadmill, which was just like, what? Like I have to stand here for 30 minutes to wait to like run on this piece of machinery was crazy to me. I didn't have any like fun thing that I was doing on the side.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, it is hard to find. So I was in the corporate world for a little bit, and I'm not knocking the corporate world at all. I think there are definitely benefits to doing that sort of thing, and, you know, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is difficult to find the time to do that other thing. But if you can, then I think it works. You know, like there are people who, I'm sure like Seattle and Denver, where things are very accessible, right?
Yeah.
You can have that other thing. My other thing while I lasted in the corporate world was squash. I belonged to a squash club.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. I looked forward to it every day after work.
Yeah.
I played with people 3 to 4 times my age.
Nice. Well, I think that touches on like I'm a bit of a nerd and have been reading a lot about happiness studies lately. And I feel like what all of them say is the happiest people have like a great sense of community around them. And I think that would be key to living in a city, is like finding that squash club or something that gave you like a community outside of just your work.
Yep.
And having people that like you can talk to and hang out with and look forward to, which is why I think Jackson is so great for me, because there's tons of friends that are all doing the same thing, and we're all sort of working, and the professional ski community is so close as well, that you have all these people that you just connect with instantly.
And you're also, it seems to me like you're involved in another community with this food, hospitality, wine. I saw that you're a sommelier, like a real sommelier.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it took a lot of work.
Not a master sommelier though, right?
No, God, no. I still have my life.
For the listeners who aren't aware of the prestige of a master sommelier, I looked it up. There are, I believe, 120 master sommeliers in North America, 200-ish or 240-ish, somewhere in there, in the world. There's an amazing documentary on Netflix called Somm. Have you seen that, Hadley?
I have, and it's like spot on.
It's spot on. Okay, yeah, you would know.
I have some friends here that are working up, because there's 4 levels, and they're working, I believe he's working on his 3rd, and it's just, I mean, it's so much information, and it's not just wine. You have to know like alcohol and beer and cigars, and it's pretty crazy how much knowledge you're just cramming into your brain.
Did you take the course called wine tasting at UNH?
I did, and then I was the teacher's assistant for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're an expert.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wine tasting at UNH, Meister fans. This is like, you know, you go into your senior year. You turn 21, you're 22. And you look at the choices for your classes for the upcoming semester, and you see wine tasting on the course list, and you're like, sign me up for that. But what people don't realize is that, at least when I went to UNH, wine tasting required like a lot of work. People had a ton of homework for wine tasting.
Well, people think it's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go like drink wine during class. This will be awesome. But again, like, for my first wine test, I took off work for like 5 months and studied at the library every day.
Yeah.
And so like, and the class at UNH was not that much easier. So people are like, yeah, I'm going to take wine. And then they just get totally crushed. And it's usually like everyone's failing grade. It's pretty funny.
It's hilarious. Yeah. And although you do drink a lot of wine at this course, I had a roommate who took it, and he would come back not sober from wine tasting sometimes. Yep. I think there were special rules for the people who were driving to class. But that was typical UNH fashion.
Oh, yeah. And the professor that taught it when I was there, this guy, Udo Schlentrick, who is like my favorite professor ever. I still email him every once in a while. He is like full Euro. He'd show me his like favorite European drinking games when I was his TA. And then we'd go into class and like, he's fine with everyone really testing it out and seeing how it is. But usually a lot of times you end up spitting it.
Yeah, that's the proper way to do it.
The proper way.
Right. Let's get on to something dealing with your skiing, because that's what we have you on here today to discuss. You're in the Freeride World Tour now. We've had a couple of other Freeride World Tour athletes with us, including Jackie Peso. You know Jackie?
Oh, nice. Yep.
And we've talked a little bit about it, but I want to talk some more. When did you get involved in Freeride World Tour, and how do you get into big mountain free skiing?
Yeah, I raced a little bit, probably like, I think it was only 2 years as a child, and then I did Nordic skiing, which some people say I shouldn't say, and then I did the first like free ride team that came about in Jackson, which was like Park and Pipe, and this was before there was really big mountain competitions for kids, which there are now. There's a ton, which is awesome. And then went to college, ended up kind of skiing at UNH and ice climbing and regular climbing and kind of focusing more on that, and then went to DC and didn't do anything, and then came back to Jackson, and my younger brother Max was still racing for the US ski team, and he was training for this gym called Mountain Athlete, and he was kind of like, Hadley, I think you'd like it just as a balance, because I was working at a hotel like super long hours. He's like, this could be an awesome way for you to sort of work out. So I started working out at Mountain Athlete, which is like an incredibly intense place and kind of a topic of its own. But people that were working out there were Griffin Post and Crystal Wright and Matt Annetts and Jess McMillan, who all compete on the Freeride World Tour for skiing and snowboarding. And they were kind of like, Crystal was like, I think you'd really like it. Why don't you just sign up for one? And so I signed up for one, and that was kind of the start of it.
Talk about that being outside of your comfort zone, right? It seems like it, at least.
It totally was. I mean, the first year was like so eye-opening. I had no idea what I was doing, like tactic-wise. And I don't think my skiing was near where it needed to be for like the lines that I thought I could choose in my head. Even my dad was like, what are you doing? And so it definitely took I broke my back actually the first year, and then the second year was a disaster in terms of results, but it was starting to pick up. And I think my skiing technique, I took some lessons from one of my parents' friends, and like working more on like forward boot pressure and everything. And then the following year was when it all sort of clicked together.
Interesting. Let's go back to that time when you did your first competition. So they had recommended this to you. And you know how sometimes people recommend something and the recipient of that recommendation, you in this case, would say something like, oh yeah, great idea, like I'd love to do that sometimes, and then you just never take action, right?
Yep.
Was that the case with you?
I think I was so burnt out from the hospitality world, which is super common. You're working like 90-hour weeks, and you're pretty much just getting complaints. I mean, if they have exceptional service, you'll probably hear about it. But if they have just like great standard service, you won't hear about it. But of course, if anything's slightly off, you're going to get screamed at. And I think I was so burnt out that idea that this could be like a little bit of a release from that was just like, I'm going to take this and run with it.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Good.
But I read on your website, I believe that's where it was, that contrary to many skiers, you don't really dream about being a pro skier. Your dreams are more starting a restaurant, doing something in the hospitality industry.
I mean, I think in the end, that's what I want to go back to. And I think I note that because it's so helpful for me to have an end result after skiing. And what I see a lot in the ski world is people are like, I'm going to be a professional skier. And obviously that has a very short timeline on it. I mean, you have people like Chris Davenport that have figured out a way to do it a little bit longer. But on average, you know, people are coming into this and say like, your careers, it's just like a football player, like maybe 7 or 10 years. Like that's going to put me in my like late 30s being like, okay, like what do I do now? And so I think having that goal makes me knowing that like I have a pretty good resume to fall back on and a dream to own my own restaurant means that in skiing, like I can give it everything I've got because I have this like fallback plan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there to catch myself when I'm done or if I get super injured. And I think I just like having that sort of balance to the skiing, because I think it scares me to go like all in with nothing there to fix if for some reason like all your sponsors drop you or you get super hurt and can't ski anymore, or it just comes time where like I want a family or I'm too old to like huck a 40-60 foot cliff, which I'm guessing will happen at some point.
But you do. You look awesome. Let's go to this imposter syndrome, which we talked a little bit about before the show.
Yeah.
When you started, you really weren't confident with your skiing or just weren't having the results that you wanted. Now you have the results. Like you're winning, you're placing very highly. Do you feel like you're one of the best skiers out there?
No. I don't, but it's really, maybe I just do that to make sure that I'm always motivating. I think still to this day, Ingrid Backstrom is the best skier, and especially when you like break down her technical skiing, it's unreal how good she is. And I think people overlook it a lot of times, mostly because when you watch her ski, it is so smooth and calm and like beautiful looking.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I'm the best, but I think I've got a lot of like heart put into it.
What needs to happen in order for you to feel like you're the best? Is that possible?
Well, I don't know. I don't think I'll ever be like, yeah, I'm the best.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think I can imagine myself saying it, but I'm definitely still working a lot on the technical side. Like I think my line choice, I've always felt pretty comfortable with, which is huge for competing because you're picking out your own line. And your run is sort of based off of that.
Yeah.
But still working on like little tactics of like ways to slow yourself down and like really steep snow that doesn't look like you're just stopping, but like controlling your speed and little things like that. So I think I have a long ways to go, especially when I ski around with Max. I'm like, oh geez, that kid is just like a ninja on the snow. He's so balanced, and we'll be skiing along and then he'll just like fly over like a giant fence. And you're like, how'd you even elevate yourself up there? It's pretty
For the
wild.
listeners, we'll have a video of Max and Hadley skiing on Hadley's Meister profile page.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, absolutely. A beautiful Meister profile page. We have a brand new website, Hadley. So we've talked about earlier in the interview how it's important to surround yourself with that greater talent, yet you do need to be confident in your skills. Otherwise, you kind of lose all hope. And like the point when somebody gets to like, oh, I'm the best in the world, I think that's when you become most vulnerable, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
They say that a 2-0 lead in soccer is like the worst lead to have because that's when you first start to let up.
Totally.
Yeah. So how do you balance the two of those, making sure that you have enough confidence versus not having enough?
Totally. I think being really honest with yourself is super key, especially as a mountain-based athlete. I just finished a really intensive like snow safety course this week. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was like I was with literally some of the best athletes in skiing in my mind. And we're all doing all these safety things. And a lot of times they remind you, like, it doesn't matter how good you are. Like, the mountain is there and it's going to do its thing. And you need to respect that. And I think in competing and everything that I'm doing in the mountains, like having that real honest conversation with myself, I can honestly say this is what I need to work at. But then when I'm like competing and I've picked out a line that I know is in my comfort zone, mm-hmm. I can be like, I know I got this. And I have to say that to myself at the top when I do my little like pre-comp routine. Like it's all about full confidence.
What is your pre-comp routine?
Oh, it's super long, but a lot of like music is involved and then visualization and sort of not visualization of just the next run, but I actually do visualize like past comps that I've done well in and kind of getting that spirit back in me of like, oh, this is how it felt. And then listening to like really aggressive rock music, which I hate.
You don't listen to podcasts?
I don't listen to podcasts. No, maybe I should try. Well, I used to like do super like mellow meditation stuff. And I found that I was actually like too calm and like not super stoked. And I find that with these competitions, I need like a little bit of fire. In me.
Yeah.
And that's like my perfect sort not too amped up, but just like pretty amped up, I would say.
I could recommend some MTNmeister episodes for your pre-run.
Okay, great.
The music thing, when I write the newsletter it's called Keeping Up with the Meisters. I have a newsletter affiliated with this podcast. And you can sign up for it, Hadley, if you'd like.
Yeah, love to.
When I write this little blurb at the beginning of the newsletter. When I write that, I put on what's called concentration music.
Uh-huh.
It's I believe a 2-hour and 20-minute YouTube clip of what's called concentration music. It's the one that looks like it's like a porcelain face with stuff coming out of the brain. I'll put that on your Meister profile page as well, Hadley.
Awesome.
Okay. So when you need to concentrate, Meister fans, or you, Hadley, and just like really get into the zone, this is what I use at least, and it works well.
Awesome. Music is wild. It's crazy.
It's pretty neat. I'm more of a podcast guy myself, but if I need to be concentrating on something else, then yeah, music's the way to go. I agree.
Nice.
All right. Also on your Meister profile page, Hadley, is your gear recommendation. And we get one of these from every single Meister that we have on the show, if I remember to ask them. So give our listeners 1 or 2 things that they absolutely have to have.
Well, obviously I can't ski without skis.
Oh,
so
really?
Yeah, I guess you could try. But I would say I ski for Line skis, and I love them because they're like a big little company. Mm-hmm. It's just 4 guys in an office.
Really?
But they actually now, I could be wrong, but the last time I talked to them, they quoted something like they sell more skis than Solomon does.
Wow.
But every time you like go on the website or talk to them, it still feels like very small. And they make the best women's skis I've ever skied on. And they don't look like a deodorant stick, which I appreciate. Like they don't have flowers. They have really cool, like a lot of it's like modern art based graphics, which is nice. Mm-hmm. They're nice to look at. And they ski really well. And I would say like the Line Pandora women's ski is awesome.
Great.
Highly recommended.
Very good. The Line Pandora on Hadley's Meister profile page, going right along with the music theme that we have going.
Yeah.
And also potentially kind of a Pandora's box porcelain head spilling out different things like the YouTube video. So,
yes.
Very great recommendation, Hadley. Something that is going to become consistent on all MTNmeister episodes, courtesy of Casey Green. From a previous episode, he said, I would love to see this part of the show, and I absolutely loved it. So, Hadley, I want you to recommend somebody else to be the next MTNmeister. Ideally, it's somebody who you think is awesome or inspires you. Who should be the next MTNmeister?
Okay, I ran through the list, and I hope she's not already on this.
Okay, yeah, we've had a lot.
But I could have missed it because there's so many. Would be Rachel Burks.
Have her.
No!
Yep.
Darn it.
And you have to listen to her episode. Hadley.
Oh, she's like become one of my favorite people
I
ever.
would, you know what? I will let Rachel come on the show again because she was that entertaining.
Okay, I have
you
another. I have
okay,
a
you have
backup
another
too.
one. Okay.
If you accept Canadians.
Oh, absolutely.
Would be Leah Evans.
Leah Evans. Tell us about Leah.
Leah is a ripping skier from Canada. She has started her own sort of women's. It's called Girls Do Ski up in Canada, and it is a women's program to get girls skiing, as the name says. And Leah's just like such an amazing skier. She'll like enter into a comp and usually win, but doesn't put too much pressure on it. Great rider, traveler, and just like a wonderful human being.
I love wonderful human beings.
Yeah.
Such as you, Hadley. Thank you for joining us on MTNmeister today.
Thank you.
For the listeners, check out full highlights on Hadley's beautiful Meister profile page on our website, MTNmeister.com. Hadley, are you going skiing today?
I am.
Great. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed that episode with Hadley Hammer, pro skier on the Freeride World Tour. Check out Hadley's Meister profile page for some really unique highlights from today's episode, including the Netflix documentary Somm, my favorite concentration music from YouTube. Maybe I'll even throw on a link to Hadley and my alma mater, UNH. Don't forget to sign up for a free audiobook from Audible while you're there. And as usual, enjoy doing the rest of whatever you do when you listen to this podcast or any other ones. I'm Ben Shank, and you've been listening to MTNmeister.